朋友们，大家好。1月6日，美国爱德华兹空军基地一次全体会议上，主持会议的第412测试联队指挥官道格拉斯·威克特准将提到了近期中国试飞第6代战机，声称中国人民解放军推进现代化的速度前所未有，远超美国。解放军达到了有史以来规模最大、现代化程度最高的水平。美国除了抓紧新武器的研发测试，别无退路。我们看看他是怎么说的。
What's the likelihood that the rapid modernization that the PLA is going through outpaces the modernization that we are doing right here at Edwards Air Force Base? That's uncertainty and that's risk. And that's risk to the nation, and risk to our mission can actually change that risk to the nation. So go ahead and go to the next slide, please. You may have seen this. So on 26 December, Mao Zedong's birthday, and this is very deliberate. You know, nothing happens in China on social media. These are all lifted out of Chinese social media. Nothing happens. Not one, but two new aircraft were revealed, were flown. The U.S. hasn't officially designated the one on the right yet. It's right there, Chinese, or the Chengdu Aircraft Corporation, CAC. The pundits are calling it the JH-36 because the tail number has a 36 on it, and it follows the J-35. But China is, they are rapidly modernizing. Next slide. December was also an eventful time. So, middle of December, there was a unannounced PLA-N, People Liberation Army Navy exercise that completely encircled this is the largest exercise, naval exercise, probably since the end of World War II. It was 3 times by number of ships than what RIMPAC is, our big exercise. Now, when we do RIMPAC, we actually announce it well in advance because we don't want to inadvertently start a war. China just did this. In fact, it wasn't necessarily obvious that they were doing an exercise. They encircled the island. They set up these walls out to the first island chain. They did mock attacks of both aircraft coming inbound to China as well as attacking ships within this area, doing mock attacks without telling the world that they were just doing an exercise. It could have been the preamble to an invasion. That's uncertainty. That's risk. Earlier in December, the U.S. acknowledged Salt Typhoon, a persistent Chinese cyber espionage. We've already known about, and we've talked in this forum, about Volt Typhoon, all the Chinese malware that is in our critical infrastructure. So a lot of our grid, electrical infrastructure, water, transportation systems, the SCADA systems that control those. There's a lot of Chinese malware on those. Salt Typhoon has been going on for about 4 years. There are at least a dozen now telecom companies that have been acknowledged, have been infected, and we can't actually get them out. They have root authority on the servers, and it appears that what they are targeting, and this is all open source, I'm not revealing anything, it appears that what they are targeting is our senior government officials and all the networks. So they have downloaded every single person that President-elect Trump has called in the last 4 years. AT&T is one of the companies. Verizon is one of the companies. Guess what? Our government phones, mine's there in the back. They have a record. The PLA, the CCP, now knows who my government phone has talked to for at least the last 4 years, and they're still there and we can't get them out. That's uncertainty. That's risk. It is a very, very dangerous world right now. Next slide. The pace of modernization that the PLA is going through. This is the current as of March 23. So a year ago. I guess almost 2 years ago now. It's 2025. How about that? Go ahead and go to the next slide. And go back one for me. And go forward one. And do it one more time. The pace of modernization that the PLA is going through is unprecedented. It is far outpacing what we are doing. We are the smallest and oldest that we have ever been. The Chinese, the PLA, is the largest and most modern that it has ever been. That is risk. That is uncertainty. And that's why what we are doing here at Edwards Air Force Base is extremely important, because we are, go ahead and go to the next slide. We are here at Edwards developing and modernizing and doing those things that will change Chairman Xi's calculus about starting World War III. We cannot afford to have to take a step backwards because we have a mishap. Our mission is too important. And China's doing it right now too. So let's go ahead and take a journey. So this is Edwards Air Force Base. Go ahead and advance for me. China also has an Edwards Air Force Base. And so we'll take a journey across the globe. Dingjin Air Force Base, out in the Gobi Desert. They picked a desert just like we did. And so up there in the Gobi Desert, and there it is. Our runway is longer here, I have to say. We got 1,000 feet on what they have, and we have a lot more runways too, with almost 69 miles of runways. This is their newest runway here. They're doing a lot of drone and kind of what we are calling the combat collaborative aircraft development. This is where a lot of those hangars where a lot of that stuff is coming from. This is also located adjacent to missile ranges and satellite launching and anti-satellite ranges as well. They also, go ahead and build for me. Look right here. Go ahead and build. So that's 4 miles away from the main runway. This is not the only thing they're planning. And I think they know that we have satellites. Go ahead and go to the next slide for me. So in the desert, about 300 miles away, further to the west in the Gobi Desert, so just north of that Dingjin Army Airfield, they actually have places where they can launch ballistic missiles, about 300 miles away. They have this in the Gobi Desert. There's actually a couple targets like that. Some of them have radar reflectors, so they actually look like a carrier, the Gerald Ford, for a ballistic missile that's coming back in and has to discriminate, a target. They also have destroyers. They have destroyers actually on rails that go across the desert. It's fun going and actually it's not fun. It's easy in Google Earth to go in there. It's actually a little bit scary. I'll give you the coordinates if you want. You can just play around in Google Earth. You can look at this. The rail tracks are taking evasive action, so the missiles can actually be tested. What does the destroyer do as it's weaving through the ocean? You can look at the radius of curvature of those railroad tracks. You want to update your probabilities about the risk to the world? Next slide. That's why we're doing this. This is one of the many, many things that you are working on right here that will change Chairman Xi's calculus about our readiness and change his incentives about whether or not today is the day to start World War III. We cannot afford to have the B-21 take a step back.
中美竞争现在越来越聚焦于高科技前沿技术的竞争，战机是载体，反映的是两国在高科技领域的比拼。中国虽然没有官宣，但现在普遍认为前段时间中国试飞的就是第6代战机。美国的洛克希德马丁与波音也在抓紧推进6代战机的研发。B-21隐身战略轰炸机也被视为未来空战的重要一环。中美6代机的技术路线有所不同。首先，在隐身性能上，成飞可能在歼3 6上使用等离子隐身技术和主动隐身涂层。这两个黑科技，一个可以减少雷达的反射信号，另一个可以主动吸收或者发射电磁波，让敌方雷达难以锁定。美军 B-21的隐身思路是全频段隐身，主要靠先进的隐身涂层加特殊机体结构，尤其对高频雷达有更强的隐身能力。第二， 中国推行的是有人机加无人僚机集群，歼36可能具备控制大量无人机作战的能力。中国认为这是未来空战的重要趋势。无人僚机可以干扰敌方雷达，攻击地面目标，甚至为6代机提供弹药补充。而美方推崇高智能自主作战， B-21计划采用 AI 自主作战系统，能在复杂战场环境中自动规避威胁，选择最佳航线，还可以独立完成部分轰炸任务。这种高度智能化的设计，连飞行员都可以变成旁观者。第三，在高超音速与激光武器方面，中国国内不少专家认为，成飞6代机很可能配备高超音速巡航导弹和动能武器，比如电磁炮或粒子束武器。一旦实现，将彻底改变空战规则。而美军 B-21会装备激光与微波武器，用于拦截空中来袭导弹。这种武器一旦部署，等于给 B-21装上了一层光盾，极大提升生存能力。美国的科技实力雄厚，但中国有后发优势，还有集中力量办大事的魄力。这场高科技竞争鹿死谁手，犹未可知。